Welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Rich Tehrani here. Thanks for watching. We're at IT Expo West 2012 in Austin, Texas. On our program today, Rich Williams. He's the president of Connect2 Communications. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So Rich, your company traditionally was a PR firm that's evolved. How do you position yourself right now?
Well, we position Connect2 Communications as an agent of change. We typically get hired by companies that are either about to grow into the next phase of their development, maybe moving from concept to product delivery, from product delivery to mass adoption, from private to public. We help them through that transition. And we do that by starting with the core message. The key question we need them to answer is, where do you want to be in 18 months? And then once we identify what their goals are as a company, we map our PR strategies back to their corporate business and market objectives. So we're always trying to stay lockstep with what the company is trying to accomplish, instead of just creating PR plans to generate media. It really is to map into what they want to be as a company.
Now, how have you seen the marketing, the PR landscape and the communications landscape evolve over the past decade, with special note on social media and how that's evolved as well?
It's interesting. So I started in this business a long time ago when you would fax press releases to people, and you do long lead press tours and analyst tours and short lead press tours. And the day that a press release crossed the wire, there was really nothing to do except for look for coverage. But today, I think there's more opportunity than ever, and partly because the barrier to entry to being a journalist or a blogger has fallen quite a bit. When blogs first came to relevance 6, 7, 8 years ago, you had to really look hard at a blogger to see what his credentials were and what his following was or her following was, because you didn't want to spend time with someone who might not really have an audience or have an unobjective voice in the marketplace. But today, you're seeing new publications and exciting new bloggers that are really connected and will have 10 and 20 and 30,000 followers, and they have them not only for their blog space, but their Twitter accounts. And they're really instrumental in how conferences are shaped and how the debate is framed in the market. So there's really a lot of opportunity today to engage with traditional media like TMC, bloggers, and just other industry influencers that might not be a traditional journalist.
Now, based on your experience, and the reason I enjoy speaking with people that are in your part of the business is that you, in turn, get to speak with so many marketing and communications people within organizations that you're really in tune with what's happening in the world. And I'm curious if you could point out what are some of the biggest mistakes that companies should avoid making that you've seen as you've been in this industry.
Sure. I think there's a lot of pitfalls and that companies can fall into. I think a lot of it ties to social networking, actually. There are people who think that they have to be everywhere there's a social network, without really taking the time to investigate where their customers are or prospects are. And every social network presents opportunity to influence, but are you influencing someone to make a decision that helps your business grow? And the example I use is Facebook. And I've given a lot of talks on PR and messaging and social networking and social marketing. And I'll ask a room full of people, how many of you are on Facebook? And you'll have the entire room raise their hand. And I say, what do you go on there for? Do you go to see pictures? Who goes to see pictures of their friends' kids? They raise their hand. How many go to get updates on what their friends are doing? Raise their hands. How many of you go learn about session border controllers or soft switches? And no one raises their hand. So I think companies fall in the trap of thinking they have to be everywhere, messaging any place they can be. And unless they've created a community of interest that people want to get that information, it's a lot of time that could be spent on other social networking outlets that are more targeted to their audience.
That's a really good point. It's actually something we talk about in the media side, and that is trying to reach your customer when he or she is in the frame of mind to be influenced or to learn about that technology. It's kind of why trade magazines have been so successful and why specific blogs are successful.
Right, because you're specific. You're reaching a specific audience, trying to get a specific action out of them. And that's very effective, especially when you can get to their core value of what they're trying to accomplish, not only in their job, but as a person and their career.
So, Rich, you talked in the beginning about just some of the things that your firm does, and I wanted to go in a little more depth on that question or on that area and just talk about, if I'm if I'm looking to pick one firm versus another, how and why do I choose yours? And if you could just go through, be as detailed as you like, some of the differentiators which will make your potential customers become customers and be happy customers at that.
Sure. So one of the things I think that we do that's unique in the industry is kind of what we talked a little about before, is we start with what the corporate objective is. Where do you want to be as a company in 12 to 18 months, 24 months? What are your market objectives? And then we build programs that help them accomplish that. And another trap that a lot of technology companies fall into is they always want to talk about what their products can do, right? The widgets, the speeds and feeds. But there's a lot of other aspects of the company that are important to their growth as a company. Everything from strategic hires to patents to partnerships to customers. So we call them messaging threads, and we try to weave a coherent story about the company as it grows that makes them more interesting to partners and customers because they have the financial strength, they have the partnerships in place, that they know they can be successful. We sort of try to take the risk out of working with a startup by demonstrating how many other people have bet on this company to be successful. And we always hire, from a senior staff perspective, someone who's worked inside. We're not a PR agency that's about the clip. We're about the right clip with the right publication at the right time to help advance your market. Today that might be one of the great outlets at TMC, and tomorrow it might be the New York Times. It just depends on what your objectives are and who you're trying to reach and what you're trying to accomplish. And we're constantly level setting that expectation and those objectives based on how the market moves and how your company moves. Sometimes that customer doesn't come in, and so you have to reset and do air cover with some what we call point of view pitches.
Right.
And point of view pitches have been really effective with our companies, helping them really think about some of the bigger market issues that are driving decisions that lead to a customer buying their products or services, and helping them develop what their point of view on this bigger market issue, the flood of mobile data crashing the network. What's their opinion on that? And then we'll work to take that point of view and share that with select editors and analysts, not to get a story on the company per se, but to get a story on the issue the industry faces and have our company be an expert source. An example of that, we have a company called Exenda that is in the WAN optimization space, and particularly in performance insurance. And they have a lot of clients that are in the university space. So we use the natural news cycle of when college students are going back to school to do a back to school pitch to say, how are these universities preparing for Netflix and gaming and all of the things that these 18 to 22-year-olds are going to be doing on the network and still allow them to run their corporate network, right? And then another client, Adtran, has made an acquisition about a year ago of a company called BlueSocket, and we've done a lot with them and their point of view of mobile data offload. That's a hot topic, to get them into conversations with reporters that might not necessarily talk to them because they think of traditional Adtran as a really strong enterprise communications and carrier access space.
Awesome. I love the example of the university and how the kids come back to school, and you said Netflix and gaming. You didn't mention Wikipedia. You didn't mention Encyclopedia Britannica.
There's a lot of things and I did not mention that. I'm sure their parents are proud of that.
So for the parents that are watching, Encyclopedia Britannica, Merriam-Webster,
yes,
what other?
The classics, certainly reading online.
Obviously, every kid wants
to read Chaucer. And
sure, of course. And many of them have Kindles for that purpose as well.
Sure, that's what that's for.
So we covered ourselves with the parents.
I think so.
Great to see you. Thanks for being on the program.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.